shop looking through the want ads when I read Macy's Herald Square, the largest store in the world, has big opportunities for outgoing, fun-loving people of all shapes and sizes who want more than just a holiday job. Working as an elf in Macy's Santaland means being at the center of the excitement. I circled the ad and then I laughed out loud. The man seated next to me turned on his stool, checking to see if I was a lunatic. I continued to laugh quietly until the check arrived and I remembered that I don't have a job. It's funny how you can just forget a thing like that. I brought the ad home and my roommate Rusty and I were laughing about it, and he dared me to call for an interview. So I did. The woman at Macy's said, "Are you interested in full-time elf or evening and weekend elf?" I said, "Full-time elf. I have an appointment next Wednesday at 2. I am a 33-year-old man applying for a job as an elf." I suppose it could be worse. I often see people standing on the street dressed as objects and handing out leaflets. I tend to avoid leaflets, but it breaks my heart to see a grown man dressed as a taco. So if there is a costume involved, I tend not only to accept the leaflet, but to accept it graciously, saying, "Thank you so much," and thinking, "You poor pathetic son of a bitch." This afternoon on Lexington Avenue, I accepted a leaflet from a man dressed as a camcorder. Hot dogs, peanuts, tacos, video cameras. These things make me sad because they don't have a place. They don't fit in on the street. In a parade maybe, but not on the street. I figure at least as an elf, I'll have a place. I'll be with all the other elves in Santa's village. We'll reside in a fluffy wonderland surrounded by candy canes and gingerbread shacks. It won't be quite so sad as standing on some street corner dressed as a French fry. I'm trying to look on the bright side. I arrived in New York 3 weeks ago with high hopes. Hopes that have been challenged. In my imagination, I would go straight from Penn Station to the offices of One Life to Live, where I would drop off my bags and spruce up before heading off for dinner and drinks with my new celebrity friends. Victoria Buchanan, the show's greatest star, would raise her frosty glass in my direction and say, "Everyone, people please, may I have your attention?" "Clint, sit down, darling. This isn't about you. I would like to propose a toast to our friend David, the newest member of our television family. Welcome to Landview." I'd say, "Oh, you guys cut it out. It's too much." Vicky would lay her hand over mine and say that I better get used to being the center of attention. But instead, I'm applying for a job as an elf. What's even worse than applying is the very real possibility that I won't even be hired, that I couldn't even find work as an elf. That's when you know you're a failure. I'm down to the wire here, $20 away from walking dogs. After calling my mother and begging her for a loan, I applied at a place that covers styrofoam creatures in moss. Left to its own devices, nature can cover things in moss for free. It's not that difficult a task, but still I didn't get the job. A skill. A person needs a skill. In order to become an elf, I filled out 10 pages worth of forms, took a multiple choice personality test, underwent 2 interviews, and submitted urine for a drug test. The first interview was general, designed to weed out the obvious sociopaths. During the second interview, we were asked why we wanted to be elves, which, when you think about it, is a rather tough question. I listened as the woman in front of me, a former waitress, answered the question saying, I want to be an elf because I think it's about acting, and I used to work at a restaurant owned by this really, really wonderful woman who had a dream to open a restaurant, and it made me realize it's really, really important to have a dream. Everything this woman said, every phrase and sentence was punctuated with a question mark, and the interviewer didn't raise an eyebrow. When it was my turn, I said that I wanted to be an elf because it was the most frightening career opportunity I'd ever come across. The interviewer raised her face from my application and said, "And?" I'm certain I failed my drug test. My urine had roaches and stems floating in it. But still, they called me back for another round of questioning. This time, I met with two of the head managers who asked me questions about my interests and hobbies. I don't recall my exact words, but somewhere along the lines, I expressed an interest in whittling. In truth, the only thing I've ever whittled is a bong. I was just looking for something elf-like, and I figured I'd pull it off when I was sent downstairs to fill out a series of tax forms. I was then ushered into the holding pen and given a seat next to a female dwarf. This, I thought, was a good sign. Names were called, and the smallest people were ushered into the manager's office. Next, went the men with the largest ears, and the women with no chins. I waited a long time. I'd just about given up hope when the manager came out of her office, cocked her finger at me, and said, "Congratulations, sir, you are an elf." I have spent the last few days sitting in a crowded, windowless Macy's classroom undergoing the first phases of elf training. This morning we were lectured by the Santaland managers and given a Xerox booklet of regulations entitled The Elfin Guide. Most of the managers are former elves themselves who have worked their way up the candy cane ladder, but still retain vivid memories of their days in uniform. Several of the bosses actually led us in motivational cheers, a concept which stuns me to the core of my being. One guy actually rolled up his sleeves and said, "Give me an S! S! How about an A? A! How about a big old N? N! Did someone say T? T! Let's get a recall on that A! A! What's that spell? Santa! Santa! Come on, elf! Who's the man? Santa! Be proud of who you are, elf! Raise the roof! It was his goal to send chills up our spine, and personally speaking, I think he did an excellent job. I was mortified. They closed the session by saying, "Remember that even if you are assigned photo elf on a busy weekend, you are not Santa's slave." I spent the rest of my 8-hour shift with 50 other elves and one perky, well-meaning instructor in a giant Macy's classroom, the walls of which were lined with NCR 2152s. A 2152, I have come to understand, is a cash register. The class was broken up into study groups and handed out assignments. My group had several returning elves and some experienced cashiers who tried to help me by saying things like, "You don't know your personal ID code yet? Jesus, I had mine memorized by 10 o'clock. Everything about the cash register intimidates me. The worst part is that after I've accumulated $300 in my drawer, I have to remove $200 and fill out a series of forms, run the envelope of cash to the drop in the china department or the vault on the balcony above the first floor. I will not be able to change my clothes before I go. I will have to go dressed as an elf. An elf in Santaland is one thing. An elf in sportswear is something else altogether." Today we were told that during the second week of December, Santaland is host to Operation Special Children, at which time poor children receive free gifts donated by the store. There is another morning set aside for terribly sick and deformed children. On this day, it is an elf's job to greet the child at the magic tree and then jog back to the house to prepare our Santa for what's coming. Excuse me. This one's missing a nose. Or, excuse me, Crystal is suffering from third-degree burns over 90% of her body. Missing a nose. With a child like this, Santa has to be careful not to say, "And what would you like for Christmas, young man?" Interpreters for the deaf came and taught us to sign, "Merry Christmas, I am Santa's helper." They told us to speak as we signed in bold, clear voices and use bright facial expressions. They taught us to say, "You are a very pretty boy/girl. I love you. Do you want a surprise? My sister Amy lives above a deaf girl and has learned quite a bit about sign language. She taught some to me, so now I am able to say, Santa has a tumor in his head the size of an olive. Maybe it will go away tomorrow, but I don't think so. This afternoon, we were given a tour of Santaland, which really is something. I mean, it's beautiful. A real wonderland with 10,000 sparkling lights, fall snow, train sets, bridges, decorated trees, mechanical penguins and bears, and really, really tall candy canes. We entered and traveled through an elaborate maze, a path which leads from one festive environment to the next. The charm faded somewhat, however, when we were given code names for the various locations. The narrow hallway inside the entrance is known as the Oh My God corner. People arrive and see the long line to see Santa and say, Oh my God! It is an elf's job to calm them down and assure them it will take no longer than an hour to see Santa. Further along the path, we come to what is known as the vomit corner. A mirrored wall where nauseous children tend to surrender the contents of their stomachs. When someone does throw up, the nearest elf is instructed to yell, Vamoose! The brand name of the janitorial product used by the store. The path ends at the magic tree, which is supposed to resemble a complex system of roots. A child is supposed to think, I can't believe I'm inside a giant tree. But really it looks just more like a large-scale model of the human intestine. I prefer being frank with children. I'm much more likely to say, you look tired. Isn't this a school night? Or, I know a lot of people who would kill for that tiny waistline of yours, honey. I don't think I'm going to be able to provide the grinding enthusiasm that Santa requires. I think I'll be a low-key sort of elf. Today was elf dress rehearsal. The woman in charge of costuming handed out our assignments and gave us a lecture on keeping things clean. She held up a calendar and said, Ladies, you know what this is? Use it. I have scraped enough blood out of the crotches of Elf Nicholas to last me the rest of my life. And don't tell me I'm a dancer. I don't wear underpants. You are not a dancer. If you were a real dancer, you wouldn't be here. You are an elf and you're going to wear panties like an elf. Elves have gotten to know each other over the last few days of training. But this all changed when we started to take off our uniforms. Or take off our clothes and get into our uniforms. This was really going to happen. My costume is green. I wear red and white candy cane striped tights, a yellow turtleneck, Dr. Seuss shoes, and a perky stocking cap decorated with spangles. This is my work uniform. During elf dress rehearsal, you have to go by your elf name. The other elves chose names like Jingle and Frosty. They take the children by the hand and squeal with horse delight. They sing and prance and behave like cartoon characters come to life. It frightens me. My elf name is Crumpet. Today was the official opening day of Santaland. On any given day, you can work as an entrance elf, a water cooler elf, bridge elf, train elf, maze elf, island elf, magic window elf, counter elf, emergency exit elf, magic tree elf, pointer elf, Santa elf, usher elf, cash register elf, runner elf, photo elf, or exit elf. I worked as a magic window elf. I was at the magic window for all of 15 minutes when a man approached me and said, "You look so fucking stupid." I have to admit he had a point. But still, I wanted to say, at least I get paid for looking stupid, that he gives it away for free. But I can't say things like that, because I'm supposed to be married. So instead I said, "Thank you." As if I'd misunderstood him and thought he said, "You look terrific." "Thank you." He was a brawny, wise guy wearing a vinyl jacket and carrying a bag from Radio Shack. I should have said real loud, "Sorry, man, I don't date other guys." The magic window is really boring because all you do is stand around and say, "Step on the magic star and look through the window and you can see Santa." I did that for a while and then I got bored. So I started saying, "Step on the magic star and look through the window and you can see Cher." People got excited. Some people in the other line, the line to see Santa, crashed through the barriers to stand in my line and look through my window. And then they got upset when they looked through and saw Santa, not Cher. What did these people expect? Was Cher really so hard up for money that she'd agreed to stand behind a two-way mirror at Macy's? The angry people must have said something to management because I was taken off the magic star and sent to Elf Island, which is really, because all you do is stand around and act merry. All we sell in Santaland are photos. It is the Santaland policy to take a picture of every child which the parents can either order or refuse. People are allowed to bring their own video cameras, whatever. It is the multimedia groups that exhaust me. These are the parents bowed down under the weight of equipment, relentless in their quest for documentation.
All right now, let's get a picture of Anthony Damascus, Teresa Doug, Amy Pohl, and Vanity. Okay, let's squeeze them all together. Okay, Santa, can we put Doug on your shoulders? Can we do that? Okay, Vanity and Damascus, look over here. No, over here. Santa, can you put your arm around Amy and shake hands with Paul? Oh, that's good, that's nice.
Sometimes the parents ask me to sit beside the child and wave. So I do. I sit beside the child and I wave at the video camera. And I wonder where I'll wind up. I imagine myself on a television set in a paneled room in Wapahansett or Easternmost Meadows. I imagine the family struggling for control of the remote, hitting the fast forward button. The child's wave turns into a rapid salute. I wander into the picture and everybody in the room entertains the same thought. What's that asshole doing at our Christmas memory table? Young children, ages 2 to 4, tend to be frightened of Santa. They don't want their picture taken. They don't know what a picture is. They're not vain, they're babies. They're babies and they act accordingly. They cry. A photo elf knows this, that when a child cries, it's over. The parents, on the other hand, they had planned on sending the pictures to relatives and putting them in scrapbooks. They stood in line for over an hour. They are not about to give up so easily. Tonight, I watched a mother shake and slap her sobbing daughter, screaming, "God damn it, Rachel, get up on that man's lap and smile or I'll give you something to cry about." She shook her sobbing daughter until all her eyes were rolling in her head. Then set Rachel on Santa's lap, and I took the picture. Which I suppose means, on paper, everything is snowy and wonderful. It's not about the child, or Santa, or Christmas, or anything but the parents' idea of a world they can't make work for them.
The following elves are now excused for their afternoon breaks. Puff, Noel, Crumpet, Carol, Little Frosty, and Dreidel.
Our elfin guide states that we must cover our uniforms with a shirt or smock when dining in the cafeteria. funny they should use the word dining. Grown men and women in candy cane leggings do not dine. They feed. For the first week, we had to suffer the jokes of the year-round employees who laughed at our uniforms, not knowing that we make more money than they do. Yesterday, I sat next to a Flushing elf named Ginger Snap. She is a squat, plump woman whose knickers fit her like tights. Complementing the overall look is a thick pair of oversized glasses and a swarm of plastic barrettes she uses to clamp down her hair. I noticed Ginger Snap back in training, and I'm surprised she's lasted this long. Nobody can say she's not enthusiastic. Any more spirited, they'd have to medicate her. Her problem is, well, she's stupid. During training, she'd have her hand in the air every 2 minutes, asking questions that were so obvious, I wondered how she ever found her way to the 8th floor. We'd be running over time, wanting to go home, and she'd have her hand in the air going, "Excuse me, can we wear our uniforms home?" Who would want to? What possible pleasure could it give you to board the New York subway dressed as a gnome? The management had already laid down the law about our uniforms, so the question was pointless. It was like asking, "Excuse me, can we force children out of Santa's lap at night, please?" No. The answer to that question is no. Now, if you just sit down and shut up. At the end of the training session, I watched her approach a manager and ask if she could work as an elf year-round. I've met elves from all walks of life. Most of them are showbiz people, actors and dancers, but a surprising number of them held real jobs at advertising agencies and brokerage firms before the recession hit. Bless their hearts, these people never imagined a velvet costume in their future. These are the real bitter elves. Today I had lunch with someone I've codenamed Flaky. Flaky just moved here from Kansas City and is not very happy to be working for Santa. Every time I come across her, she's saying, "I'd rather be a starving artist in New York than starving artistically in Kansas City, Missouri." Ew, makes me wince. She even says this to children. "I'm not a real elf, I'm an artist." Well, Flaky showed me some slides of her work. During her off hours, she spends her time gluing human hair to clock radios and telephone receivers. Everything she touches winds up looking like a Persian cat. I said, "Oh, what a cute idea." This was the wrong thing to say. She strenuously objected to the use of the word cute, and then proceeded to try to sell me a blonde clock radio, saying she would let it go for, say, $300. I said, aside from the fact that I don't have $300, who really wants to part the bangs of their alarm clock to read the time, dear? So far, my least favorite elf is a guy from Florida I call the Walrus. The Walrus has a thick handlebar mustache, no chin, and a neck the size of my waist. In the dressing room, he professes to be a bit of a ladies' man. The Walrus seems to think Santaland is one giant singles bar. It's embarrassing to work with him. We'll be together at the magic window where he'll pull women aside and say, put his arm around their shoulders and say, "I know you're not going to ask Santa for good looks, because you already got those, pretty lady." In his mind, the women are charmed, dizzy with his attention. I tongue in cute, and one of the job perks is that I get to see them in their underwear. The employee dressing rooms are located behind Santaland in the bathrooms, and the men's bathroom is small, and the toilets often overflow, so we're forced to stand on islands of newspaper to keep our socks dry. The Santas have a nice dressing room across the hall, but you don't want to see a Santa undress. The overall cutest elf is a fellow from Queens by the name of Snowball. Snowball, he tends to ham it up for the kids, sometimes literally tumbling down the hall to Santa's house. I tend to frown on such behavior, but Snowball is hands down adorable. You just want to put him in your pocket. The other day, we worked together as Santa's elves, and I became excited when he started saying things like, "I'd follow you to Santa's house any day, Crumpet." Made me dizzy, this flirtation. By mid-afternoon, I was running into walls. At the end of our shift, we were in the dressing room changing, and suddenly we were surrounded by 3 Santas and 5 other elves. all of whom were guys that Snowball has been flirting with. Snowball just leads elves on. Elves and Santas. Later in the elevator, I heard him say to his friend, "I don't know what all these guys want with me. It creeps me out the way they stare." Snowball is playing a dangerous game. It's one thing to get a child fired up, but you do not want to work under a jilted Santa.
Breaking elves should now report to the manager station for reassignment. Break is over.
At least a third of Santa's visitors are adults, couples, and a surprising number of men and women alone. The single people don't usually want to sit on Santa's lap. They just stop by to shake his hand and wish him luck. Often the single people are foreigners who just happen to be shopping at Macy's and got bullied into the maze by the entrance elf whose job it is to hustle people in. One minute the foreigner is looking at China, and the next second they're standing in front of an elf with a palm-sized counter who says,
How many in your party?
"Yes." How many in your party is not a yes or no question. "Yes." Then, an elf leads the way to a house where the confused and exhausted visitor addresses a bearded man in a red suit and says, "Yes, okay, thank you. Today I am good." There was this one man who came to visit Santa, a sloppy, good-looking man in his mid-40s. I thought he was just another confused European, so I reassured him that all people are welcome. Plenty of adults come to visit Santa. Everyone's welcome. An hour later, I noticed the man back in line to fellowship with Santa. I asked him what he and Santa talked about, and in a cracked and puny voice he said,
The toys. All the toys.
I noticed a dent in the left side of the man's head. You could place an acorn in a dent like that. He waited in line a third time, and an hour later he got so excited he peed on Santa's lap. There were these two New Jersey couples who came together to see Santa. Two loud, ugly husbands with 2 wives and 4 children between them. The children gathered around Santa's feet and had their picture taken. When the 10-year-old boy was asked what he wanted for Christmas, the father yelled, "A woman! Get him a woman, Santa!" These men were very loud and irritating, constantly laughing and jostling one another. The 2 wives sat on Santa's lap and had their picture taken, and each asked for a KitchenAid brand dishwasher and a decent winter coat. The 2 men sat on Santa's lap and had their picture taken, and when one of them was asked what he wanted for Christmas, he said, "I want a broad with big jugs!" The man's small-breasted wife folded her arms across her chest, gritted her teeth, and looked at the floor. The man's son tried to laugh. So far in Santaland, I have seen the old Simone from General Hospital, Sean from All My Children, Walter Cronkite, and Phil Collins. Last year, one of the elves got suspended for asking Goldie Hawn to sign her hand. We have been instructed to leave the stars alone. I can't believe I'm seeing so many celebrities. I'm honing in, I'm getting closer. I can just feel it. All the Santas have their different routines. Some want the child's name, so when you greet the child at the magic tree, you say, "What was your name again? It's right on the tip of my mind where I can't get at it." They tell you and you say, "That's right, Van." You lead them to Santa's door and say, "Let me make sure he's ready." Poke your head in and whisper, "Van." Then half the time the child walks in and Santa says, "Stan, it's so good to see you." It's hard to keep the names straight, and some of them are names I've never heard of before. Venetia, Vantage, Great. No, a child named Great.
I'm great.
That's a name that's bound to prove challenging once he's old enough to start sleeping around. Santa Howard once chooses names. He asks the children what they want for Christmas, he sits them on his lap, and then he asks them what they're going to leave him on Christmas Eve. And they say, "Cookies and milk." And he says, "What kind of cookie?" And they say chocolate chip or whatever. Well, he insists that the photo elf say, chocolate chip, that's Santa's favorite kind of cookie. I don't mind saying it, but I must have said it 60 times today. Then in the afternoon, Santa Howard got an Asian child who wasn't familiar with the idea of leaving cookies and milk. He asked her what she was going to leave him on Christmas Eve, and she got a puzzled look on her face. He said, something round to eat? She said, a potato? I hate working with Santa, Doug, who tends to just spit whenever he talks. It just gushes out of his mouth every time he opens it. Last night, a little girl rubbing her face said, Santa, why are you spitting on me? Doug assured her there was not spit. It was just frost from his beard. This might work on a 6-year-old, but what does he tell his friends? The absolute worst is Santa Santa. I don't know his real name. No one does. Most days there's a slow time when you sit around the house and talk to your Santa. Most of them are nice guys and you laugh or whatever. Santa Santa tends to take himself a bit too seriously. I asked him where he lived, Brooklyn or Manhattan. He said, why, I live at the North Pole with Mrs. Claus. Asked him what he does the rest of the year. He said, I make toys for all the children. I said, yeah, but what do you do for money? Money? Santa doesn't need money. Santa Santa sits and waves and jingles his bell sash when no one is around. He actually recited the night before Christmas, when it was just the two of us in the house. No children, just us. What do you do with a nut like that? He says, oh, little elf, bring Santa a throat lozenge. I reminded him that I have a name, Crumpet, and then I brought him a lozenge. Santa has an elaborate little act for the children. He talks to them, and he gives a hearty chuckle, and he jingles his bells. And then he asks them what their favorite Christmas carol is. Most of them say, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And then he asks them if they'll sing it for him. Oh, the children are shy, and they don't want to sing out loud. So he says, little elf, help young Brenda here sing that favorite carol of hers. And then I have to sing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, which I hate. Then one day, he got a child who didn't know what their favorite Christmas carol was. Santa suggested Away in a Manger. The little girl agreed to it, but didn't want to sing because she didn't know the words. Little elf, come, sing Away in the Manger. Well, I didn't think it was fair that I should have the solo, so I said that I didn't know the words. Nonsense, of course you know the words. Come now, sing. So I sang it the way Billie Holiday might have sung it if she had put out a Christmas album. Away in a manger, no crib for a bed. The little Lord Jesus lay down his sweet head. Santa did not allow me to finish. Santas, two are black, and both are so light-skinned that with the beard and makeup, one would be hard-pressed to determine the race. Last week, a black woman became upset when she requested a Santa of color, and she was sent to Jerome. He's not black, she said. We assured her that Jerome is indeed black. Well, he's not black enough. Jerome is a difficult Santa. He seems to have his own bizarre agenda. He spends half his time staring off into space, tallying up the money for the hours he's worked so far. When the children arrive, he stares at his boots and lectures them, suggesting a career in entomology. He tells them that the defensive spray of the stink bug may contain medicinal powers that may one day cure mankind of all communicable diseases. Do you know about holistic medicine, he says? The photo elf takes pictures of yawning children. The last time I was pointer elf, a woman came up to me and mouthed, we would like a traditional Santa. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. I sent her to Jerome. A man pulled Snowball aside and said,
Last year we were stuck with a chocolate Santa. See it doesn't happen again.
today I was pointer elf for all of 5 minutes when a woman mouthed, white, like us. I've had requests for both sides, black Santa, white Santa. A pointer elf is instructed to feign ignorance, shrug his shoulders, and say, there's only one Santa! Today I worked as an exit elf, saying in a loud voice, this way out of Santaland! A woman was at one of the cash registers paying for her pictures, while her child lay beneath her, kicking and heaving, having a tantrum. The woman said, Riley, if you don't start behaving, Santa's gonna change his mind and not bring you any of those toys he promised you. The child said,
Yes, you're gonna bring me the toys, liar. You already told me.
the woman grabbed my arm and said, you there, elf, tell Riley that if he doesn't start behaving, that Santa's gonna change his mind and bring him coal. I said, the Santa no longer traffics in coal. Instead, if you're bad, he comes to your house and he steals things. I told Riley that if he didn't behave, Santa was going to come to his house and take his TV and all his electrical appliances and leave him in the dark. All your appliances, Riley, including a refrigerator. Your food's going to spoil and smell bad. It's going to be so cold and dark where you are. Man, Riley, are you ever going to suffer? You're going to wish you never heard the name Santa. The woman got a worried look on her face and said, oh, okay, that's enough. But I continued. He's going to take your car and the furniture and all the towels and blankets and leave you with nothing. The woman said, no, seriously, that's enough. Have you ever realized that Santa is an anagram of Satan? I imagine a Satan land where visitors wade through steaming pools of human blood and feces before arriving at the gates of hell, where they are greeted by a hideous imp in a singed velvet costume who takes them by the hand and leads them in to see Satan. Once I got the idea in my head, I couldn't get it out. Overhearing the customers talking, I would substitute the word Satan for the word Santa. What do you think, Michael? Do you think Macy's has the real Satan? Don't forget to thank Satan for the baby alive you got last year. I love Satan! Who doesn't? Everybody loves Satan! Father Christmas or the devil? So close, but yet so far.
Attention Macy's shoppers. Remember that you've only got 12 shopping days left before Christmas.
As Christmas approaches, we grow progressively busier. There is no longer any downtime, and I think they ought to outfit all the elves with cans of mace. It's all Santa, Santa, Santa. Not even the children have respect for elves anymore. Unless it's that damn dwarf. And then, oh, they go wild. Everybody wants their picture taken with that goddamn dwarf. Yeah, physically, she looks the part, but if you ask me, she's just coasting on her looks. I got a new pair of earrings the other day, and several people complimented me on them, but it didn't register. I spend all day lying to people saying, you look so pretty. Santa can't wait to visit with you. You're all he talks about. It's just not Christmas without you. You're his favorite person in the entire tri-state area. Sometimes I lay it on real thick and say, aren't you the Princess of Rongovia? Oh, Santa said that a beautiful princess was coming to visit. He said she'd be wearing a red dress, and she was very pretty, but not stuck up or two-faced. That's you, isn't it? I lay it on, and the parents mouth the words, thank you, good job. To one little girl, I said, you're a model, aren't you? She was maybe 6, and she said, yes, I model, but I also act. I just got a callback for a second callback for a Fisher-Price commercial. The girl's mother said, you may recognize Caitlin from the My First Sony campaign. She's on the box. I said, yes, of course. All I do is lie. And it has made me immune to compliments. I think I'm starting to lose it.
Attention holiday shoppers, remember that there are only 9 more days left before Christmas.
I've changed my elf name from Crumpet to Blisters. It's a little on the trollish side, but circumstances have eroded my elfish spirit. Today, I was with Santa Carl when a woman came in with her son, saying, "Go on, Jason, tell Santa what you want for Christmas. Go on, tell him." Jason said, "I want Procter and Gamble to stop animal testing." The woman rapped her son over the head and said, "It's Procter and Gamble. What do they do, Jason? Do they torture animals? Is that what they do?" Jason said, "Yes, they torture animals." Then later, I was working as a pointer elf at the Magic Tree, and I watched as a mother unzipped her son's fly and instructed him to pee in a bank of artificial snow. He was a young child, maybe 4 or 5, and he did it. He peed. Santaland may look like the outdoors, but upon closer inspection, one cannot help but notice 4 walls and a ceiling.
Attention everyone, from your friends at Macy's. Remember that you have only 7 more days to shop until Christmas.
Today, a boy told Santa Ken that he wanted his dead father back and a complete set of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Everyone wants those damn turtles.
Look people, you've only got 3 more days to shop for Christmas.
I manned the oh my god corner, and we were packed, absolutely packed. And everyone seemed to stop me with a question. Which way to the down escalator? Which way to the elevator? The patio restaurant, gift wrap, trick or treat. There was a line to see Santa and a line for the women's restroom. And one woman, who'd asked me 1,000 questions already, got up in my face saying, "Which is the line for the women's restroom?" I told her I thought it was the one with all the women in it! She said, "I'm gonna have you fired." I had 2 people say that to me today. "I'm gonna have you fired." Who do these people think they are? Go ahead, be my guest. I'm a grown man wearing a green velvet costume. It doesn't get any worse than this. "I'm gonna have you fired." And I wanted to lean over and say, "And I'm going to have you killed."
This is just a reminder that Macy's will be closed on Thanksgiving on Christmas Day. This leaves you with 1 more shopping day. That's it. 1.
This was my last day of work. We'd been told that Christmas Eve would be slow, but this was the busiest I'd seen it. The chaos a week's worth of training would prepare us for. 23,000 desperate people behaving as if they were trying to board the last train out of town. I started off at the Magic Tree, where I witnessed a fist fight between 2 mothers. I watched as a woman experienced a severe crowd-related anxiety attack. Falling to the filthy floor, she groped for breath, her arms waving as if she was fighting off invisible bats. Parents in long lines tossed disposable diapers into the candy cane forest and offered cash bribes to cut in line. And through it all, the noise was deafening, with children crying and parents saying, "We're here already! What more do you want from me? Now shut up!" This was the rowdiest crowd I'd seen, and we were short on elves, many of whom waited till the last possible minute to show their true colors, either calling in sick or just not showing up at all. Some elves complained, but the rest of us found ourselves in the moment we'd been waiting for. It was us against them. Time to buck up, be a trooper, and I surrendered completely. A pretty girl is like a melody. Parents and child entered the room, and noting the young girl, Santa clasped his gloved hand to his chest, falling back upon his chair, feigning a massive heart attack. He lay there groaning for a few minutes before saying, "Elf, Elf, are you there?" Yes, Santa, I'm here. Elf, I just had a dream that I was seated before the most beautiful girl in the world. She was right here, in my house. It wasn't a dream, Santa. Open your eyes, my friend. She's here. Santa sat up, rubbing his eyes, and said, "Oh, heavenly day. You are the most beautiful girl I have seen in 617 years. Then he scooped the child up onto his lap and flattered every aspect of her character. The child was delirious, the center of attention. Noting the child's mother in the corner, he said, "Is that your sister I see there?" "No, silly, that's my mother." Santa beckoned the woman forward, saying, "Have you been a good mother? Do you tell your daughter you love her? Do you tell her every day?" "I try, Santa," blushed the woman. "And you, sir, step forward." The father shuffled to Santa's feet. "What do you do besides make money? If I were lucky enough to have young Kathleen here as my daughter, I would kiss her forehead 10 times a day and thank her for bringing such joy into my life. Would you do that for me now? It would mean a lot to me." The father kissed his daughter's forehead. Santa ended the visit by saying, "And remember, the most important thing is to try to love other people as much as they love you." The great thing about this Santa is that he never even asked what the children wanted. He tailored his reception to each specific group. The main thing is that he made them feel welcome and relaxed enough to drop their guard and submit to his idea of Christmas. Me, I can go any old way. If you want to hustle them along, I'll be your sheepdog. In one door and out the other. If you want to make fun of them, I'm one step ahead of you. But this threw me. Because I'm not a good person. I've never been a good person. Before tonight, I was never even accidentally mistaken for a good person. But now I was good by association. Families left grabbing my hands and thanking me. These were grown men and women crying like babies on the night before Christmas. My flight was set to leave at 8 o'clock, and I stayed till the very end. It was with reservation that I looked for the manager to tell her I had to go. And oh, suddenly I loved this woman. She'd raised her voice a few times, but her anger had been directed at the old me. I was certain she'd notice the difference, and no doubt we would share a special moment. Maybe we would cry, and surely I would be left with the kind of warmth that one can hold in their heart forever. I searched the room and joined her behind the counter where she was talking to a customer. I reached out, touched her arm, and said, "I have to go now." She reached back, gently squeezed my shoulder, and continued her conversation, saying, "Don't tell the store manager I called you a bitch. Tell him I called you a stupid bitch, because that's what you are. Now get out of my sight before I do something we both regret." The customer fled. Me, I was one step ahead of her.